After Sean O'Malley's dominant performance against Aljamain Sterling, there is a lot of questions left in the Bantamweight division. Will Aljo come back to the division? Who will Sean O'Malley face next? And who are some contenders that could vie for an opportunity for the belt within the next few years? This past weekend's UFC 292 event saw one of the best bantamweights, Aljamain Sterling, take on rising star Sean O'Malley in a title bout that had been built up since O'Malley's win over Petr Yan back in October of 2022. On that same card, Aljamain Sterling beat TJ Dillashaw in a title defense after he beat Yan by decision earlier in 2022. This fight was scheduled for UFC 288 in May of this year, but Aljo would end up defending his title against Henry Cejudo in a comeback bout where he hadn't fought since 2020 after retiring as a two-division champion. Aljamain edged out a decision victory in one of the most technical fights of the year and then called out Sean O'Malley, who was waiting in the crowd.
I know there's a sweet crowd right now. Well, he can star in the episode of Funk Master, baby. Sugar Sean with a web.
The bout would be set for August 19th for the bantamweight title with the future of the division on the line. Aljamain had been hinting and speaking about moving up a weight class after the fight, and if Sean O'Malley were to win, he would go from rising star to UFC superstar overnight. And just that happened.
Sterling on it.
Going into the bout, O'Malley would be seen as an underdog against one of the best in the division and the best the division has ever seen. A tremendous grappler and wrestler versus one of the best strikers in the division, if not in the whole UFC. This stylistic matchup usually favors the wrestler as they can win most of the rounds with control time, but the UFC has been changing recently. On the previous pay-per-view, Alex Pereira took on Jan Blachowicz, and despite Jan having 7 minutes and 30 seconds of control time, the judges believe that Alex did enough on the feet to take the win over Jan. This would benefit O'Malley as he knew Aljo would want to take the fight to the ground as he had the clear advantage. Many predicted Aljamain to win because of this. We have seen many fights between two fighters with these two clashing styles end up going to decision, and Sean's chance to win would have to come by KO, and he knew that. The first round was very even, but all three judges gave the edge to the champion. The second round would be very different as O'Malley would capitalize on a split-second mistake from Aljamain, which would boost him to superstardom. The KO punch by O'Malley has clear shades of McGregor versus Aldo, where McGregor would hit the same counter punch. O'Malley can actually be seen working on this exact move that he would eventually end the fight with backstage. We know the story of these two fighters and what they did to get to this spot, but what we don't know is what's next for both of these men. Let's start with Aljamain Sterling, who is said to be weighing his options. One choice, obviously, is an immediate rematch versus Sean O'Malley if he decides to stay in the division. For a guy with his resume, with the title, and in the division as a whole, I would be shocked if he didn't get an immediate rematch, but it seems like he's planning on moving up to featherweight. After this loss, this puts him in an interesting spot. With a win over O'Malley, that puts him in a direct fight against Alexander Volkanovski for the title, but coming off a KO loss means he has to put some work in the division to get that title shot. I see a fight against Brian Ortega being the top option for both men at this point. Ortega hasn't fought since last July when he dislocated his shoulder in a loss to Yair Rodriguez and has been on the shelf ever since. It seems like he is ready for action, and with Aljamain looking for a fight in the division, the number 3 ranked contender would be a good start for him. Arnold Allen could also be another matchup as he's ranked 4th right now and is coming off a loss to Max Holloway. I'd rather see the Ortega fight as of right now, and I think the UFC would also agree, as many have been waiting on his return, and this would be a perfect way for both men to build momentum towards a title shot. Sean O'Malley is in a very different spot at this point. There are almost too many options that the UFC can go with, which makes it interesting on which one they will end up choosing. The obvious answer would be Aljo if he stays, but if he doesn't, I do see 3 potential options for Sugar Sean's first defense. After the win, he called out Chito Vera, who handed him his first ever loss in 2020, though Sean claims that Chito got lucky with a shot to the leg that shut down the nerves in his leg. This is the best thing for O'Malley to do career-wise, as he could beat Chito and he can silence the doubters after that loss 3 years ago. Another option would be the number 1 contender, Merab Dvalishvili, who has been sitting at the number 1 spot for a while now. He is a teammate and great friend of Aljamain, and he was very vocal that as long as he was champion, he would never face Aljamain. This would have ruffled some feathers in the UFC office, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get the first shot because of it. Dana White had spoken about this after Merab's win over Petr Yan earlier in the year, where he said,
"Bad idea
for Merab to go down that path.
You've made no secret that you don't love it when a guy doesn't want to fight his teammate. And Merab is clear that he will not fight Aljamain Sterling and he'll wait until Aljo moves up. So what do you do with him, right? Because you don't necessarily want to put him against other contenders, knock off other contenders before they can fight for the title. So what do you do with Merab?
It's so funny you say that, because I don't remember who the hell I was talking to the other day about this. And I was like, yeah, we don't have to deal with that bullshit anymore. Back in the early days, the camps were so small. You didn't have a lot of different options. So we had a lot of these guys saying, oh, he's my friend, he's my friend. You can still be friends and want what your friend has. You know what I mean? It would be a really bad idea for Merab to go down that path.
Is there a point where you sort of say, right, that's enough, you have a decision to make, or you have to move divisions, or what do you do with him?
Yeah, so does Merab want a shot at the title, or would Merab rather have people under him jump over him and him have to take on all these different tough guys when he's not even getting a title shot when he's next in line for it? That's a personal decision that he needs to make. If that's what he wants to do, I can tell you how that story ends. It's not a good ending to that story, but he's a big boy. He can figure that out on his own.
Merab doesn't have to worry about this anytime, especially if Aljamain leaves the division for good, as he could get a title shot in the near future, but the damage might already be done, and the UFC could make him wait for this opportunity. Finally, we have Corey Sandhagen, who has been rising back up the division after wins over Cheeto and Rob Font this year. Sandhagen would be a good fight if the UFC was willing to wait, but with his injury, this looks like a fight that could end up happening next year. Out of these three options, I do believe the UFC should go with the Merab fight. Cheeto would be interesting as both fighters have evolved since their 2020 clash, but why give him a championship fight before Sandhagen gets one if Corey beat him earlier in the year? The storyline with Merab defending his friend's legacy and trying to win back the belt would be great for promotion, and he still has O'Malley's jacket. No matter what direction they go with Sean's next fight, the hype will be there as he has been exploding with popularity the past few years, and especially after his recent KO victory. There are a lot of guys who are lined up for a title shot at this moment, and within the next few years we are bound to see some great fights between all these great fighters, and potentially could be the start of the Sugar era.